barbecue and other things I want to do. I'm Big Lou, and this is what I've got going on for you. You're gonna see brisket on the show today. This is my second brisket video. This one I'm doing on my upright drum smoker, UDS, or as some people say, ugly drum smoker. That's what UDS stands for. I'll leave that opinion up to you. Anyway, I built this thing about 2 months ago and I love it. Absolutely love it. You see, some guys, when they do their barbecue, they like to try all kinds of different equipment and buy a lot of different accessories. Some guys are a little more DIYer, like to modify the basic things they have and make stuff. That's kind of what I did. It's also that way with the rub that I used. A lot of people like to go out and try different rubs and buy different brands of rubs and experiment with this type and that type, and that's all part of the fun of barbecue too. I like to do that a little bit, but I also like to make them. I'd rather go into a recipe book and find a recipe that looks good. And I found one in Stephen Raichlen book called Ragin Cajun Rub, and I just had to try it. Had filet powder in it, had a little paragraph in there that's kind of funny. Talked about it may be hard to find in your area or something like that. I'm thinking, hey, if you can't find filet powder where you live, you need to move. Anyway, it's got some cayenne pepper in it and stuff like that. Now, the last time I did a brisket, I did it on the Weber kettle, and the goal there was to make a really, really super moist brisket. So I left the fat cap on it, most of the fat cap on it, and I basted it every few hours. Now this one was going to be overnight, and I knew I wasn't basting it, so I knew that I'd be giving up some of that moisture. I also trimmed a lot of the fat off because I didn't want it making a big mess in my smoker, and so I knew that this one would be a little bit drier. My son thought it was too dry. My wife thought it was beautiful and just right. I thought the middle of it was great, and I thought the ends were dry, but most of it was pretty good. I think next time I do one like this, though, I'm going to inject it with a beef broth or some sort of marinade and maybe put a water pan in there just to raise the humidity a little bit. But the fact remains, it was still very, very good. And we still eating on the leftovers a few days later. So anyway, I want to say one other thing. On my last brisket video, a lot of people commented, you only need to put salt and pepper on it. And if you're in Texas, we only put salt and pepper on it. Well, Texas is 15 miles right back there into the setting sun. This is Louisiana. I like cayenne, so I'm using that Ragin Cajun Rub. All right, I'll leave the recipe to it. It was by Stephen Raichlen in his Barbecue Bible series. He's got it online, and I got it in the book, and I'll show all that to you. Anyway, I hope you enjoy watching me cook a brisket on the ugly drum smoker. Big Lou Barbecue. Okay, got this brisket at my local Walmart. No, it's not going to be Prime or anything. It says XL brand. Watched the El Rabbit Barbecue cook one of these recently. I bought this one about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. We put it in the freezer, defrosted it to cook this weekend. This is the point side here. This is the fat cap. All right. I'm going to get it out of the package here in just a moment. Let me show you what rub I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using this rub. No, it's not some fancy store-bought rub. It's something I made. I made it from a recipe out of this book. Right there, Ragin Cajun Rub, all right? And he mentions in here, he's got this little story about finding filet. It's got filet powder in it. It says, what does it say here? You'll need to know about one special ingredient here, filet powder or ground dried sassafras leaves. It's often used as a thickener in gumbos. Look for it in gourmet shops and most supermarkets. If you can't find filet in most supermarkets, you need to move, all right? Anyway, I'm gonna try this. Here's what I'm gonna try. He recommends it for fish and stuff, but I tasted it. I think it's gonna be pretty good on beef. And the thing with beef, I don't wanna use a sweet rub like I would use on pork. I don't wanna use I don't want to use like a pork rub. It's going to have some brown sugar or some cane syrup or something like that in it. I don't want to do a sweet rub. All right, so here it is unwrapped. Flat end, point end. They come across each other, like right through there. So you can see that the point starts here. This is their flat. I'm going to try to cut most of this fat cap off, and dig out a little bit of that gelatinous fat that's in the middle there. I really did think about splitting this and doing both cuts, one cut on one rack, the flat on the bottom rack actually, and the point on the other. But this overnight cook, I need it to cook a long time, and to split it would just be to cook it faster. All right, first thing I'm gonna do is cut off this thick piece of fat right here on the backside. You need a sharp knife. I just tune this one up a little bit just before I turn the camera on. And since it's going to be cooking this side down, I really don't need this fat on this side. And plus it's a real hard fat. It's hard to render out. I mean, you can hear it compared to that. You can hear that fat there. So this fat here could come off. I continue to trim off the fat. I've continued to trim off the fat. And what I'm doing now is this fat here digs into that. So I just cut in like this and cut in like that. And I'm going to continue to do that right on through here and just kind of cut this wedge of fat out of there. All right. And pull on it like you see all that? All that doesn't need to be in there as I smoke this thing. And that's nothing but fat of this hard gristle type fat that needs to come on out of this piece of meat. Okay, so right here, that was that. I dug that out. Now what you see in here, is you see right there, this is the flat, this is the point. I've carved out that most of that hard fat right there to get down to the marbling, and I cut out a little bit. I can't cut it all out or I'll disconnect the pieces. And remember, I want these pieces to cook together because I want them to cook real slow for a long time. But this layer here, it'll be easy to separate once it's cooked, and then you can just kind of peel it off. But a lot of the rub won't get into the flat. So I'll peel this back a little bit. I'm gonna be able to put the rub here on this side. Flip it over, and we have this on this side. And so we got to trim the fat cap. There's another big hard piece of fat right here that has to come off. And then this fat here is real soft and tender, but I still want to take it off. So I need to make sure that my knife is sharp. I sharpened it earlier, and now I'm honing it. This is called honing. And gonna go ahead and trim this part off right here. All right. Make sure your knife is sharp. Want to trim all of that off. And I'm gonna cut the fat cap down to about 1/4 inch just by doing what I'm doing right here, okay? You see I'm getting down to the white part there. And a little bit of the meat. I don't want all the meat off, so I've cut a little too deep at this part here. So I'm gonna have to change that cut and cut a little less. I want just about that much fat on the top of it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and trim that, trim this, and get this trimmed up for you, and I'll show you how we rub it down. Big Lou barbecue. Put some Worcestershire sauce on here. Use whatever brand of Worcestershire sauce you like. You know, some people call it, what's this here sauce? All right, it's good stuff, and it's great with beef, and it's a main ingredient in many of your steak sauces. So I'm just gonna rub all this Worcestershire sauce over it. And I probably need to apply some to the backside. I'm gonna wipe my hands and do that down, well, you know what, I'm just gonna go wipe the bottle off. It's my kitchen, my house. If you think it's unsanitary, you don't have to eat it. All right? But if I was cooking for somebody, I would make sure I'd wipe my hands off. I'm just gonna wash that bottle off real well. All right, now, because I'm gonna do the same with the rub. Need to wash my hands anyway and get this rub on there. Be right back. Big Lou barbecue. All right, this is that Ragin Cajun rub that I made up from the Stephen Raichlen book. It's all the recipes on his website. I'm gonna include a link to that. All right. Just put this top on there. It's one of those ball shaker jar things, and this is just a ball plastic top that I store it in. But I'm gonna shake it out on here. And what I like about this, not only got some cayenne, I like a little bit of heat. I know you Texas folks said nothing but salt and pepper. I'll watch Barbecue with Franklin. That's great, man, but that works better on a prime piece. And I like cayenne. I'm from Louisiana, I'm not gonna deny it. I don't like things super spicy, but cayenne makes things taste good. And this rub doesn't have any sugar in it. Most of the other rubs I have already pre-made up, except for my poultry rub, which I don't think is going to be as good on this beef as it is on chicken and stuff, have sugar in it. All my pork rubs have sugar and stuff in it. So anyway, I'm just going to rub this down, do the other side like this. This thing's about rubbed down. So let me go out and light the coals on the UDS and we're good to go. Always slap it. You got to slap it when you're done. Big Lube Barbecue. That's hot, man. All right. Basket of coals down in the bottom. I'm using Royal Oak charcoal with hickory wood chunks. This is a heat diffuser plate. Actually, it's an old grill rack that I use in my old smoky a lot for low and slow cooks, but I don't need it as much because I got the UDS. That's my heat diffuser plate. Piece of metal with holes in it. Maybe you recognize it as a charcoal tray from an old smoky. All right, here's my cooking rack. And that went in there wrong. There we go. That's the level we're gonna cook on. Here's the lid. My handle's from an old pot lid. I drilled holes, works like a damper. And that's it. The Big Lou UDS. 7 o'clock in the evening, time to put the meat on. This is the Big Lou UDS machine. You can see the smoke's rolling out of there. All right, got the shelf right here for setting things on. And I really do like this UDS. All right, so I've learned that on my UDS, I don't know how your UDS works or if you even have one, that if I get this up, see, to about 280, 290 in that range right there, when I put the meat on, it's gonna drop back down to right where the red meets the blue. That's the 225 mark. That's where I want it to be. And I expect it to stay there all night long. Big Lou Barbecue. Drop that whole thing on there right like that. All right, spread it out. This is the point cut. Flat cut, point cut. All right. Don't want it touching the sides too much. And put that flap of fat back over it. All right, we're gonna put the lid on it.
All right, about 10 minutes after I put the meat on.
It dropped down to almost 200 and it's right back at 225. I expect it to stay right there all night long. I love this thing. Well, it wasn't easy, but up there where that black thing was, where that smoker was, I moved it in under the patio because it's threatening rain. It's about 10 o'clock in the evening. Things are still going well and it's still around 225. I got to get wheels on this thing. It wasn't easy to move without wheels. But anyway, we'll be cooking on the patio the rest of the night. I'll be going to bed soon. Big Lou Barbecue. Okay, it is about 7 a.m. And so this has been on for about 12 hours. Now I came out at about 2 a.m. I left that beast outside right there and the other one. And they wanted to go at around 2 a.m. and I checked on it and it was around 2:50. So I turned my damper down. I didn't adjust these vents or the intakes. I just turned the damper down. And maybe I let it go a little too much because it's dropped down to about 200. But we're gonna take the lid off, take a peek at it, and stick the
let's look at it.
in it. Woo! Unwrapped, 12 hours. And of course that thermometer right there is saying 225, so I'm not really worried about this thermometer here saying 200 if that one's saying 225. Now let's see where we're at. Let's go to the point first. That feels like butter. Feels like butter. Now it's past the 165 mark, 170, 180. 183-ish, almost 190. Okay, here's the brisket. Looks kind of dark. It's been sitting for about 5 hours. All right, and what I'm gonna do, It's, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull this point cut right off the top of the flat cut, this muscle here, and cut right on through there. Now look at that. Look at that right there. Woo-wee. Now, the grain is running this way, so we're gonna cut across the grain. That's that part of it I thought was a little dry because the fat cap wasn't on it. And it seems to be a bit dry, but it's not. Look at that. Look at the smoke ring. Taste test, Hannah.
Whoops.
Taste test, honey. Here, get some bark. Good?
Yes, sir.
That shouldn't have fallen right there. All right, let's get some better cuts off of this. Go ahead and cut that part. I'll cut it, the rest of it later. Now it's good. It's not nearly as juicy as the last one. Okay, this is what we're looking for right here. Like that, but it's juicy. It's not dry, but it's not super juicy like the one I basted. Now a 1/4 inch cut. I did not baste it, I did not wrap it, and I did not inject it. Just the smoke. Look at that, y'all. Smoke ring. Look on that flat cut right there. All right, let's cut the point. Now, point cut, I'm probably going to chop up and put into barbecue beef sandwiches. I want to cut against the grain. Like that. This has the marbled fat that runs all the way through it. There's your smoke ring. All right, and then cut a thin slice of the point cut. Right there, I'll do. Oh, that's juicy. Point cut, Hannah. Point cut, Shannon. That has the marbled fat that runs through it, so it stays juicier. Delicious. That's really good. That's really moist. The point cut stayed moist. All right, Big Lou Barbecue, brisket on the UDS. Love it. Thanks for watching.